Saint Athanasius, Against the Heathen, Section 3. The decline of man from the above condition, owing to his absorption in material things. Thus then, as we have said, the Creator fashioned the race of men, and thus meant it to remain. But men, making light of better things and holding back from apprehending them, began to seek in preference things nearer to themselves. But nearer to themselves were the body and its senses, so that while removing their mind from the things perceived by thought, they began to regard themselves, and so doing, and holding to the body and the other things of sense, and deceived as it were in their own surroundings, they fell into lust of themselves, preferring what was their own to the contemplation of what belonged to God. Having then made themselves at home in these things, and not being willing to leave what was so near to them, they entangled their soul with bodily pleasures, vexed and turbid with all kind of lusts, while they wholly forgot the power they originally had from God. But the truth of this one may see from the man who was first made, according to what the Holy Scriptures tell us of him. For he also, as long as he kept his mind to God and the contemplation of God, turned away from the contemplation of the body. But when, by counsel of the serpent, he departed from the consideration of God, and began to regard himself, then they not only fell to bodily lust, but knew that they were naked, and knowing were ashamed. But they knew that they were naked not so much of clothing as that they were become stripped of the contemplation of divine things, and had transferred their understanding to the contraries. For having departed from the consideration of the one and the true, namely God, and from desire of him, they had thenceforward embarked in diverse lusts and in those of the several bodily senses. Next, as is apt to happen, having formed a desire for each and sundry, they began to be habituated to these desires, so that they were even afraid to leave them, whence the soul became subject to cowardice and alarms, and pleasures and thoughts of mortality. For not being willing to leave her lusts, she fears death and her separation from the body. But again, from lusting and not meeting with gratification, she learned to commit murder and wrong. We are then led naturally to show, as best we can, how she does this. End of Section 3.